In this video, I'm going to give you the plane designs to be able to enjoy Millennium Dawn's latest update with the inclusion of the Air Designer. This will, of course, require you to have the Buy Blood Alone DLC to be able to use. Air has gotten a major rework naturally to go alongside with the changes the designer brings and will be almost unrecognizable to returning players. This system lets you choose modules to be able to design your aircraft for what you want. I will not cover the core mechanics of Air and HOI4 in this video, but will explain why things are important, give a few tips, and clarify how things are different in this standalone game masquerading as a mod. Let's get going. For anybody playing without the needed DLC, I recommend simply staying up to date and using multi-role fighters almost always. They allow you to do all the mission types you want and are easy to produce. If you can afford it or want the best planes possible, make air superiority fighters as they trade the best. You will notice that the agility stat is missing from planes and that the radar advantage has appeared in its place. This is because it's essentially just renamed and reflecting the modern era properly. This statistic is important because if your planes are lower than the enemy in radar advantage, aka agility, they take more damage and will get out-traded. This is the most important stat in Millennium Dawn for Air, especially if you plan on your planes to be dogfighting. In addition, the system has been changed to make planes much more costly to make, while hugely increasing rate of loss. This means if you put up a lot of planes, and so does the enemy, you're going to both lose very quickly. Quality is absolutely king, and being a generation ahead with more extensive craft will massively outtrade and make up for the difference. Lastly, air accidents, which are non-combat related planes being lost, have been increased, which is based on reliability, so try to always keep that stat at 100%. When you think of modern aircraft, you will think of fighters. The sight of an F-16 flying through the air is a testament to the marvel that is modern science and engineering, as well as a reminder of just how much effort we put into being able to fight each other. In Hearts of Iron, fighters do the job of shooting down planes almost entirely. They can do other jobs depending on how they're built, but that's their real purpose. The stats they need the most are agility, aka radar advantage in Millennium Dawn primarily, air attack so they do damage, and to lesser degrees, high speed and air defense. I will show you several designs including the best of the best and many cheaper options. These are number one on your list to produce and maybe the only thing you make as a small or medium power. The first design is close to the best you can get in Millennium Dawn, but with its insane stats come a huge cost for production. You want to have fun and make top level fighters, go for it. But frankly, I recommend this only for superpowers or major powers like the US or Germany. If you make enough of them, you will outtrade at insane rates and can take on much larger forces. Best when paired with a battlefield support or local airspace defense doctrines. The second design is an all-arounder designed to be able to do casts, air superiority, and other missions with fair competence. It's a master of none, but solid in design. You may notice the high cost as well. To lower it, simply take off 1 or 2 weapon modules and its stat boosters. This is the main plane you should be making for most countries, especially if you don't want to micromanage your air force. Best with battlefield support or the strategic destruction doctrines. The third design is an incredibly cheap light fighter. It's unmanned, lowering its stats as well as production cost. Designed to be very low cost but not incredibly strong, it's a case of quantity beating quality. Very useful for small countries and theoretically able to take on major powers if you can get out enough of them. By far the best doctrine is local airspace, which is designed for cheap garbage like this. Before moving on, do note that the stealth modules are the best to add to any design you make. They increase your agility massively, but the cost difference is huge as it is a percentage increase instead of a statistical one. Close air support in the modern world always makes me think of one thing in particular. The glory days of Modern Warfare 2 when you could get into an AC-130 and enjoy the entire lobby getting pissed off as you abused air power on a level that would make goring feel actual human emotion. In Millennium Dawn, I recommend 2 models in particular. The first is a smaller and more traditional type, akin to the A-10 Warthog. Make enough of these and they will allow you to push through any sort of terrain you want, given you have green air. Their air defense and agility is high enough you can put them in contested air zones without instantly getting deleted, but will slowly attrition. If you want a cheaper version, take off the engine upgrades and strip the range boosters and targeting pods. With casts, range really is key, so if you don't want to go with the next design I'm going to show you, keep the module on for range at the very least. The second is inspired by the kill streak I got in Modern Warfare 2 using the tactical insertion to abuse game mechanics with a friend, repeatedly knifing him until I got to use the flying death machine. For anyone who actually understood what I just said, I hope your kids are doing well and you have a solid 401k. Anyways, this design is primarily about dealing max casts. Its ground attack is huge. 6 times larger than the previous design at almost double the cost. So why not just use this design and not the first one, you might ask? Well, to start with, don't interrupt me when I'm ranting about HOI4. Second, these die very fast if contested in an air zone. They are slower and have lower air defense, but the true Achilles heel is the low agility, which again, when put into an air zone with enemy fighters, will just die really fast. If you're winning the air war and have a lot of great fighters clearing air zones first, throw these up after, and you will melt enemy divisions like butter. Only one option here, I'm afraid, for Strat Bombers. No illusion of choice at all. Strats and Millennium Dawn are simple. Max damage because if you don't control the air zone, they're just going to really die quite quickly and waste all that IC cost. If these go up a lot of enemy air, they're a pure waste. If not, the enemy won't have any buildings. The design does give a lot of air defense and agility, giving them a chance of survival, but ground AAA and fighters will take them down fast. That being said, strategic bombing is insane in Millennium Dawn. If you win the air war and use these, you will win pretty much any war. So much so, I advise not using too many unless you want to basically cheat the game. If you want to lower cost on them, strip off the support modules and maybe a bomb bay or two. Naval bombers are important in Vanilla and Millennium Dawn by a long shot. Don't be the meta HOI4 player who could write a PhD thesis on tank stats, but when asked how to use Navy, simply gives the usual rant about it not being important. I'm gonna say it. People who don't bother to learn Navy are basically the Fortnite kids of the genre. Nothing against Fortnite, it's fun once in a while to play with your cousin, but you know who I'm talking about. Back on topic, there are 2 designs I recommend. This one is shorter range and min-maxed. High cost, high impact. As usual, if you want to reduce this cost, take off the extra modules, switch to a swept wing design, lower engine boosts, and even cut off a weapons module. Up to you if you want to balance that out. The distance on this design is quite high, and you're able to hit targets in Europe and even Asia to a degree. It's the main design you should be making for your navs. The other option is a long-distance naval bomber. Double the IC cost, close to double the damage, with more defense to survive air combat and double the range. It's a preferred option as China or the US are fighting in the Pacific, or if you plan to fight long-distance wars with naval powers. Generally for naval bombers, the best doctrine to go with is strategic asset destruction if you want to get the best stats, or not focus on Navy at all. Lastly, we have attack helicopters. They're getting a designer of their own, which in order to use, you have to go to the Armored Vehicles tab, not the Air tab. Modern attack helicopters are insanely useful and provide ridiculous CAS. Unlike the past, you don't deploy them in air wings, but rather include them directly in your divisions. If you want to see some fantastic design for them, check out my Army Division template guide for MD as well. The first is focused on soft attack. Soft attack is best in single player because AI don't make armored designs often, but they will do it more often than MD and Vanilla, so be warned. These in a division will shred infantry, with the expensive design giving out a lot of soft attack by comparison to the budget version. They can be added to infantry divisions, essentially the same way tanks are to make Space Marines. The other type is a hard attack version. These give a lot of breakthrough and hard attack, which makes any division you add them to capable of actually fighting heavier units like IFVs or even tanks. The first one is pure hard attack, while the second focuses on piercing, meaning it's able to actually damage really high armored tank divisions.